Hi, I'm Kelly Kozlowski, the Executive Director of the Capitol Theater Center, and I am so excited to welcome you all to our second annual Galentine's Day event. This event is so special to me. It is a partnership with Keystone Health, and this year we are focusing on women's mental health. We as women work so hard all day, every day to be everything to those in our lives. And I wanted to make sure that we took some time to talk about how we can best take care of ourselves so that we can be the best versions of ourselves for those that we love. I am so excited to welcome Selena Neiderer, certified nurse midwife with Keystone Health. Hi, Selena, thanks so much for being
Hi.
here.
Hello, hello, thank you.
Yeah. As a long-time mental health sufferer, I'm very open about wanting to have conversations to help not only the women in my life, but the women in our community to understand that we can't do this alone. And I think sometimes we try so hard to put all of the pressure on ourselves that we forget that it's okay to reach out and ask for some help.
Yes, agree.
So thank you so much for having a conversation with me today. And hopefully by the end of this, we will have touched at least one person to give them a spark to want to reach out to Keystone Health to see how they can better serve and be the best versions of themselves for their loved ones.
Yes.
So, my first question for you is, as somebody, like I said, who has been a longtime sufferer, I've had mental health sufferers in my family before. Which do you think is true nature and how, comes with genetics or family history? And how much of our mental health is kind of the nurture end of things and the effects that society brings onto us?
I mean, being a woman, as you know, as we know, is a very multifaceted journey. And it's marked by lots of shared experiences, but also unique challenges. Part of that is, we bring into it, like you said, the nature part, what we're born with, maybe, or what we inherit from our parents, but then also the nurture or societal piece of that. And, the constant exposure to those societal expectations and norms can lead to like a wide range of adverse effects contributing to increased stress, anxiety, and really to our overall well-being. The constant also exposure to some maybe unrealistic standards perpetuated by social media and just general society can leave us feeling inadequate and like with a sense of self-doubt. Because as you said, we try to take it on and do it all. And that's maybe not always realistic for us to think we can do everything on our own. And we kind
Mhm.
of get into this like cycle of striving to like for that unattainable perfection that, what we see when we get on our computer and we get on maybe Instagram or on another social media platform, what people are putting out there isn't probably really what happens, in their everyday life, but that's what we see and what we want to kind of, or what we think we have to hold ourselves up to. And
Mhm.
we kind of get in this like superwoman syndrome where we have to go to work and we have to have a career and we have to care for our kids and we have our spouse and then we have to get the groceries and cook the dinner and do all the things that it's an everyday just cycle, and it leaves us feeling often very drained. It can, if we have some maybe underlying depression, anxiety, other mental health concerns, can really take a toll on those as well, and really just our overall health then becomes affected by it.
I
um
love that. I love the superwoman syndrome. You need to like, trademark that because
I
that,
think it already is.
oh, well, see, if I were you, I'd be like, yes, I made it up all by myself.
Yes. But I think it's just something that is not probably just now being recognized, but is maybe becoming more recognized in society, that everything that women take on is really having an impact on their mental health, their well-being, and then in turn, their family's well-being and society's well-being, because we're kind of that cornerstone that holds everything together.
Hmm. No, 100%. Kind of sticking with that whole like nature versus nurture
Mhm.
conversation. Which do you see as women do when we're talking about kind of the nature end of things? How much do fluctuations within our bodies affect that? I mean, yes, we have so much outside bombardment, but
Mhm.
how much is coming from within, whether it's hormones or, kind of our time in our cycles or our, time in our menstrual age, whatever, however you kind of want to follow that, looking at kind of that nature side, if we take the external bombardment out of it, how much does that nature really play in?
Oh, plays in hugely. Our monthly hormonal changes around our menstrual cycle when we're in that phase of life can lead to mood and irritability issues. So, and then you think about menopause and the hormonal changes that come with menopause, and those have their own set of like challenges that come, with for women. The two, and then the third hormone, but progesterone and estrogen, which are like those main hormones that are responsible for our hormonal cycle and our menstrual cycle, and then come into play with menopause, really do have some key elements that go into our mood. And then how we can manage those kind of has to play around those hormones too. We can't ignore them. They're not going to go away. They're part of who we are. And being like self-aware of how those hormonal fluctuations each month, or once we're in that perimenopause, menopause period, how those hormonal fluctuations affect us personally, because it's different for each of us. We don't all experience the same things. Being that self-aware can help us to manage them. If we know that the week before our cycle comes, we experience increased anxiety or lower mood feelings, more like maybe depressive symptoms, then, focusing on some self-care things during that time that will help mitigate that can make us better able to tolerate those fluctuations. It can be sometimes medication. There are medications, whether it's hormonal medications or other medications that can help to alleviate that. Or maybe it's, during that time, okay, this week I really need to focus on activity, going out for a walk, getting into the sunshine. I need to focus on watching my diet because certain things I might eat might play into that and make those symptoms worse that I'm experiencing. But it definitely, I think for women more than men, plays into how we experience those mood conditions, but also then how we have to address them.
Sure. What's your advice for a woman to kind of help us track and see, okay, is this truly a long running problem, or is this maybe more of a cycle thing? What are some steps that we as women can take to kind of help us help you to figure out kind of where our main triggers lie?
I think keeping a calendar, first off, just to kind of track your cycles, and then taking and journaling or in some way incorporating, like, what am I feeling today? Where am I at in my cycle? And what am I feeling? What am I experiencing? Both mood, but also physical symptoms that you may have. So that then you can bring it into when you come to see us as a provider, and we can sit down together and we can look at that calendar and be like, okay, yes, 2 weeks before your cycle, you're experiencing these symptoms pretty consistently each month. And then here's what we can do, or here's how we can help those symptoms or help you to feel less negative or less, poorly during that time.
Hmm. No, that's fantastic. You talked a little bit about self-care,
Mhm.
which I admittedly am am I'm scared of that word. Okay. I'll just say it. I'll say it. I'm scared of it. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I am the poster child for mom guilt. I am the poster child for wife guilt, all of the guilts. Anytime I take any time for myself, I just get this like overwhelming flood of I'm being selfish. There
Hmm.
are 8,000 other things that I should be doing right now. I am letting my daughter slip. I'm letting my husband down. How can we how can we as women not be, or at least me, I'll take it and I'll just say it's me.
No,
How
it's
how can I and everyone else be a little less scared of that word?
I mean, I
Hyphenate,
think, I
whatever it
think,
is.
I think what you experience is very common. I think that we all, to some degree, experience that feeling of guilt when we take time for ourselves, because there is always something else that needs done. There's laundry that needs done, there's food that needs cooked, there's groceries that need gotten. I think taking a look at it and realizing that when we take care of ourselves mentally, physically, all of the things, we are taking care of our families, we're taking care of our spouses, we're taking care of our children, because if our cup is empty, we have like nothing to really give to them. We're not giving them the best person that we can be. So, taking that little bit of time, and it can be small. It doesn't have to be big increments of time. I think a lot of us, when we think of self-care, we think it has to be this big grand event, this big gesture of self-care. And it really can be something as small as taking 10 minutes. 10 minutes out of your day while the laundry's, washing itself in the machine, and going and sitting down. Maybe it's journaling before you go to bed at night, but it doesn't have to be a big grand event. Maybe it can be sometimes. Sometimes it's nice to just take that time and put all those other things aside, and maybe take yourself for a massage, or go for a hike if you're someone that likes to be outside, or reading a book, just sitting down and reading a book, something that I guess could be seen as selfish. There's things that you could be doing instead of that, but really recharging our own mental, physical batteries so that we have more of ourselves then to pour into our families and our work and everything else.
Yeah, no, that is that was kind of like that was my 2025 goal. I
Yeah.
don't like to make resolutions because I feel like that just kind of sets you up for a failure, and I do that well on my own. I don't need one more thing to fail at.
Yeah.
But I think, I think as women we find we need to kind of plan things into our day. That's one of
Hmm.
the reasons why I created this event. Was I wanted one night out of the year that gave women an excuse to go out and do something fun. You
Yeah.
get to shop tonight, you get to drink tonight, you get to laugh tonight, you get to play tonight, you get to, have some time to yourself, but it gives us that excuse to set some time aside for ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, what's your self-care look like? I found what my self-care looks like. I'll share mine in a minute, but what's your self-care look like?
I mean, it depends. I used to be really bad at self-care. I was really bad for a number of years because my children were little. I was in school forever, I felt like. And so I really was bad at taking time for myself. But then you just end up exhausted and just kind of resentful to everybody. You're sort of not a
Mhm.
pleasant person to be around. So now, like,
Yes.
I really try, and my kids are a little older, so they don't take as much from me as they did when they were like small and you have to provide everything for them. I enjoy
Hmm.
reading. I really enjoy reading. And that's something that I'm like unapologetic. When we're on vacation, I'm going to be reading a book at times when we're, on vacation, or even at home. Like I may just curl up with a book just because that's something I enjoy and something that like lets my brain sort of turn off for a little bit from the normal stuff. I also love plants, as you can see behind me. So like that, my kids joke that they're taking over since my kids don't need me. My plants are now like my friend. But it's something mindless. Like there's just, when you're just caring for something that like really doesn't really give you anything back, but it's just something pretty to look at then. So I can like just escape and do that for a half hour. I like being outside. So whether that's with my family or by myself, just getting outside,
Hmm.
walking, gardening, hiking, whatever it looks like, just being out in the sunshine. And honestly, in the summer, my biggest self-care is I love to be in water. So just like soaking in
Yes.
the pool, I love the sunshine. I love the water. So a lot of times, my kids will find me just out cleaning the pool. It's therapeutic to me. Like I'm just in there, it's
Yeah.
quiet. I don't have to be really like mindful of anything. So just
Hmm.
taking little pieces, anything, and I go through bouts where I maybe like that week don't do much for myself. Like I just don't have time that week. So I'll try and make up for it later. And usually I try to be self-aware of that. Like, you know what, I'm feeling really tapped out. I need just to do something for me. That, I don't feel guilty taking that time for myself to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I found that my daughter is a dancer and she's at our dance studio every night during the week.
Mhm.
And I've turned my car into my little sensory deprivation tank.
Nice.
I love to just sit in my car while she's at dance. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes I read, sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I binge watch something on my phone.
Mhm.
But there's something about my car that has just kind of become my spot. It's like I get in there and it's like a little cocoon and I can't, it's like it shuts the world out. And it took me, almost about 40. I'm 40. I'll say it. It took me 40 years to kind of find a comfortable place where I wasn't distracted. I get distracted very, very easily. And I
Mhm.
constantly, if I'm sitting in the bedroom, it's like, oh, I should be putting the laundry away. If I'm sitting at the kitchen, oh, I should be wiping the countertops down. Or, it's like in my house, I have a hard time finding that quiet space to shut my mind down. But my car has become like this sensory deprivation tank for me. So I think that's how I found my weird self-care. It's just sitting in my car.
Yeah, but I mean, that brings up a good point. It doesn't have to be something, that we like traditionally think of as self-care, like journaling
Mhm.
or meditation. It can be whatever just allows you to have that space and time for yourself to just take care of you. And I think that's your car. Yeah, I mean, that's a space that's just you at that time, and you can kind of use that time for whatever you want, but it allows you just to kind of check out of the normal stuff and recharge yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to circle back a little bit to kind of the cycle of a woman's life. I
Mhm.
feel like one of the times, now this has been a long time for me. My daughter's 11 and she was a one and done. But looking at kind of, we'll call it eras in a woman's life of where her mental health can kind of go different
Mhm.
places. We talk a little bit about um kind of that new mother stage, whether it's expectant to new mothers, postpartum. What's your advice to kind of that era of a woman's world? I know it's really broad, but like how can we kind of translate that piece into focusing on the mental health aspect of things when your body is going through so many physical changes?
I mean, I think first going into pregnancy or if that's, when you're expecting a new baby, obviously, as you said, there's so many physical things that are going on that you're experiencing. But acknowledging going into that, and it's part of it is our job as women's health providers, is also incorporating the mental health aspect of things. For women that come into pregnancy, maybe with a history of mental health concerns, anxiety, depression, any of those things, we need to be astute to making sure that their mental health is doing okay as well as their physical health in the pregnancy. But for any other woman too, you can develop pregnancy associated or postpartum associated mood disorders, and really being on the lookout for those, educating women on what to look for, educating their partners on what to look for, and then intervening early in those if there is a concern that comes up. There's so many resources out there, but if we don't know that there's a concern or we haven't established that there's a risk for a concern, then we can miss that early era of intervening. And then we risk it getting really out of control before we are able to intervene. And that can be more challenging to kind of get it back under control. We know that postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety are more common than we thought maybe 20, 30 years ago. Roughly 15% of women are going to experience them to some degree. So, educating women throughout their pregnancy of, here's the things after your baby comes that you need to be looking for. And if you experience them, here's the things that, that we are going to recommend. First, you're going to let us know that something's happening. We're going to bring you in. We're going to talk. We're going to kind of establish the severity of things and then come up with a plan together as far as what's going to work to kind of help you to feel better. I think everyone, when you have a new baby, whether it's your first baby, your third baby, whatever, you're going to experience some of that in those first few weeks, those baby blues. They're so common. It's almost everyone goes through it. There's that
Mhm.
huge hormone shift after you have a baby. But helping women differentiate, sorry, my cat's going to come visit, helping women differentiate.
Hey, that's all right. I do stuff in my office now because otherwise you would just see a black cat back and
Yeah, I was
forth,
like,
back
don't
and
go.
forth.
Helping women to differentiate when it goes from being normal to something that is not normal, and making them feel okay about that. That there's nothing they can do necessarily to prevent that from happening. That they're not doing anything wrong. That this is just something that occurs for a percentage of women, and that we're there to help support them through that time.
Ah, yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, you touched a little bit about on concerns and watching for
Mhm.
concerns. talk a little bit about some things that not only we as women can watch for in ourselves, but that we can share with our partners or our spouse or whomever that they can kind of be watching out for. I know for myself, I got way too far into my mental health suffering before anything was said between my husband and I. And he made the comment of, well, I kind of thought, things might be off a little bit, but I thought you knew yourself well enough to know you could handle it. What are some things that we can share with our spouses or our partners that they can look for to kind of give us, kind of hold the magnifying glass up to ourselves when we may not be willing to see the truth of what we're going through?
Sure. I mean, I think, yeah, when you're in those first months of having a new baby, being self-aware is probably the last thing that you're going to be because you're exhausted. If if you're breastfeeding, you're that like focused on that, which and it can be a challenge in of itself. But even just having this new person that depends on you for every aspect of life, essentially, it's hard for you to really be even aware that you even exist anymore. You're exhausted. Showering might be like your number one goal for the day. So really having your partner, as you said, be maybe that person that kind of keeps you in check and aware of things. So it's, having those discussions, whether it be in pregnancy, if partners come to appointments with you or at the hospital before discharge of, okay, here's the things that we need to be looking for, because oftentimes it is partners or family members that start seeing those issues before the woman ever becomes aware that there's maybe something going on. So it's looking, and I think traditionally we think of postpartum depression, right? We think of someone who's suddenly becoming very depressed, maybe is having lack of caring for themselves, is having lack of motivation, a hopelessness. But postpartum mood disorders can be an array of mood concerns. So for some women, it's postpartum anxiety. Suddenly they are so fixated on the wellness of that baby, which we have to be. We're caring for this human being.
Of
But it
course.
becomes an over exaggerated fixation on, they don't want anyone else to care for the baby. They don't want to go anywhere. They don't want, anyone else to change a diaper, to do anything. They become so fixated on, I'm the only one that can take care of this baby and no one else can do it right. Or it may be postpartum rage. They may suddenly, be a person that's usually pretty even keel and suddenly they're lashing out or exploding at their spouse, at their other children, or just in general, or just suddenly very angry. So talking to not just women, but partners ahead of time, and saying, if you start to notice these personality changes in your partner, you can also contact us. It doesn't have to be the woman that calls us. I mean, certainly having that conversation, but if you're having that conversation like, hey, I don't think you're okay. I'm noticing some things and I don't think they're normal for you. That partner can call us as well and say, hey, I think my wife, my significant other is really struggling. She's not herself. Can we come see you? Also, the pediatrician's office is another great place for that. And sometimes they'll have new parents in there and the mom is just melting down or, is upset in the office. Luckily for us, one of our pediatrician's offices is in the same building as us. So they can contact us and be like, hey, like, we're seeing this new mom and we're concerned that maybe she's struggling a little bit, and we will get them in, that day or the next day and just have that conversation. Like, how do you feel you're doing? Are you feeling okay? A lot of times initially women may, nope, I'm fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Like, I'm okay. I'm just tired. I'm just tired. But that can sort of set that conversation in motion then, because maybe then they go home and their partner's like, I don't know, are you okay? And that cycle then starts as like, okay, let's keep checking in. Let's bring you back next week and make sure that it is just exhaustion. Because maybe it is. Maybe you just need a nap. Maybe that's all you need. Maybe some stuff is developing. And we want to be a part of that early on. We don't want it to get to a place where, a woman isn't safe at home with her baby. We want you to be okay. And we want you to feel good in that new motherhood journey.
100%. Which do you feel, just kind of in your practice, how how much does mental health enter into the conversation?
I mean, in my practice, a fair amount. I mean, I think I try to really provide a very safe, non-judgmental space when I'm in with my patients, so that even if you're there for something completely unrelated, you're there just for an annual checkup. You're just coming in for an annual
Hmm.
checkup. That like if you have something else going on in life and you're just not feeling 100% mentally okay, that I hope that I'm a safe person for you to talk to. Sometimes
Hmm.
just talking can get that out, and you can be like, oh gosh, it felt so good just to talk about this, to have someone
Yep.
listen. And sometimes
Hmm.
then it's a conversation of, let me refer you to
Hmm.
Keystone Behavioral Health or to a behavioral health provider. Have you thought about medication? Have you talked to your primary care provider about this? What's your support system look like at home? So, just kind of sometimes at least having that conversation of, we are more than just our physical self. Mental health is a huge part and can have physical symptoms too, but having that conversation and being that space. So I feel like it, for me personally, it's a huge piece of my practice.
Hmm. I mean, I will share with you my first steps toward treatment, and I went many, many, many years of suffering
Mhm.
in silence because I thought I was being silly, I thought I was being a baby, and it actually took me in my just annual checkup with, with I still go to the same nurse midwife that delivered my daughter 11 years ago. And it took me going in and her being like, you're lying to me.
Yeah,
You're not okay.
yeah,
What's going on? And me sitting in that room for probably about 10 minutes being like, no, no, really, I'm okay. I'm okay. And her just being like, you're sitting here in this office and lying to me.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it
So
is.
I
It's a very vulnerable space. The like your
Mhm.
whoever you see at like an OBGYN practice, whether it's a midwife, a nurse practitioner, a physician, it's a very
Mhm.
vulnerable space. But for some women, it's the only care provider they're seeing.
Mhm.
And it's often someone that you feel really comfortable with because you've seen them
Mhm.
maybe on an annual basis. Maybe they've been there for the birth of your children. It should be a relationship that you feel really comfortable and safe in. If not, you probably need to find
Mhm.
someone different to see. That's just, my
Yeah.
little caveat. That it should be, of all the providers you might see, should be the person that you really feel the safest with. So sometimes having those conversations, then it's finally someone that you feel like they're going to listen to you. They may call you out as your midwife did because they know you. They've met you over the years multiple times, and suddenly they're seeing like something's changed. Like what's going on, in your life right now that you're not yourself. So yeah, I think that I mean, I'm glad your midwife called it out, and I'm glad that you eventually had that conversation because I think for most of us, women, men, whoever, we suffer with mental health issues for a long time, often before they come to light and
Mhm.
before we do anything about them.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit specific to Keystone Health? And we here at the Capitol are so thankful not only to be able to have this partnership on this event, but also to be able to have kind of a megaphone to talk a little bit about Keystone and
Mhm.
their capabilities. Share with me a little bit about how Keystone can take care of the women in our community.
I mean, so Keystone's an FQHC, so we are a federally qualified healthcare facility as a whole. But we're really unique in that we have so many specialties within us. One of those being women's care, behavioral health. We have so many different specialties. So one of the things that's unique about us is that when we need a referral to a different specialty, most of them exist within our own little network. So you might come to me for a women's health concern, but if something else is going on, say mental health or your blood pressure's crazy or something, I can easily then navigate and get you into those other specialties as well to get you the full care that you need, not just the women's health care. As a
Mhm.
women's health provider, we're pretty special because we have seven, maybe eventually eight, but seven midwives. So for women in pregnancy, most of our women deliver with the midwife, which is a really unique and wonderful experience. And then we have amazing physicians as well. So when we need someone, at a higher level of care than a midwife can provide, we can collaborate on that. And we can still provide this whole care for women. The focus is not just on their physical, but their well-being overall.
Oh, that's awesome. We're so lucky in our community to be able to have um, an organization like Keystone that is so connected to itself and able to kind of send out that web so efficiently within its organization.
Yeah.
I just want to I want to thank you again for taking the time and for, showcasing that it's okay. It's okay to have these conversations. It's safe to have these conversations. I think a lot of times we as women, I don't, I like to think I'm not too out of the norm, that, women kind of have that thought process of, oh, well, maybe I'm just being silly, or I'm just being a baby. I need to just suck it up. What's your advice? What do you, if you could leave every single woman coming to our event tonight with one nugget of advice, what would you want them to take away?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that it's okay not being okay. I mean, that's not something I'm, going to trademark. It's not my phrase, but it's okay being not okay. And to realize that it is human to not be able to do everything all at once, 100% every day of your life. And that sometimes outside influences, whether it be, like I said, social media or, you know, politics, everything in life, it's going to kind of rain down on us. And sometimes that's going to become a problem that we ourselves are just not going to be able to handle without pulling in some outside resources. So finding yourself a provider that you feel 100% comfortable with, physically, mentally, that someone, women's health, primary care, somewhere in your like web of healthcare providers, finding someone that you are comfortable with going to for whatever your concern is and saying, here's what's going on, help me. Because as women, I think asking for help often, as you said, we feel guilty, I think, for bothering others, for taking
Yep.
that time, but realizing it's okay to ask for help. It's not, it doesn't show personal weakness. It doesn't make us any less of a mom or a wife of whatever. It makes us actually a stronger person in the long run.
That's awesome. How can somebody best reach out to Keystone to kind of start that conversation? If if our patrons tonight have, loved what we've had to say and felt like, okay, this is a safe space for me, how can somebody best kind of get their foot in the door with Keystone?
Call Keystone Health, schedule a new patient or come back if you've already been there before. But just schedule an appointment. Come in. It doesn't have to be anything, problematic necessarily. Come in, meet a provider. It may be that provider isn't the best fit for you, and that's okay. We all have different personalities we work with. But come in, meet a provider, and then if you feel that maybe personality wise that's not the right person, meet another person. There's lots of us at all of the practices. Find the person that you feel most comfortable with, and then start having those conversations. Even if right now mentally you're feeling okay and that's not a concern, that could change tomorrow. So having that relationship before you really need to have that conversation, and feeling safe then when that time arises, can be, it can help to alleviate some of that stress of, I don't have anyone to talk to. Because you do. You already have a safe person you've established, and you can say, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling. I need to go make an appointment with my provider, because I need some help.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Selena. Everybody,
You're
this is
welcome.
Selena Neiderer, certified nurse midwife with Keystone Women's Health. Thank you so much to our partners this evening, to Keystone Health, for being such a wonderful organization within our community that cares about every single one of us, that cares about every single person here tonight, that cares about every single person in our community. Every single person that I have met within that organization has been so capable and warm and welcoming. Um, we as women work so, so hard, and we do so much, and we give so much of ourselves. As someone who is guilty of it every single day, I I'm learning that that I can't do it all. And as much as I wish I could, I can't. And thank you to Selena and to the other providers with Keystone that give us a safe place. I hope you all enjoy tonight's show. It's going to be a great one. Get up and dance. Who doesn't love a little boy band? All right, we're going to end on one more. I have one more question, Selena, and there
Okay.
is there is no right or wrong answer, but here's my question.
Okay.
Are you team Backstreet Boys or are you team NSYNC?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Oh. I'm gonna
Or are
go.
you an outlier? Are you a 98 Degrees, O-Town, Jonas
Oh,
Brothers? Are you an
oh,
outlier?
no, no, no. I think Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. Oh gosh, I don't know if I could pick a team though. I think I'm gonna go Backstreet Boys.
Oh, that's my girl. Yes.
Yes,
I am
yeah.
Team Backstreet all the way.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Thank you all so much. Enjoy tonight's concert. Make sure you stop by and visit Postmasters for something sweet to eat. Visit Classy Brunette Boutique to do a little shopping. Visit Jules by Jules for some fabulous jewelry. Grab some Screaming Bambino wine, find your seats, and settle in for the boy band project. Thanks so much, Selena. Thank you to Keystone
You.
Health. And we can do this, ladies. We've got each other.
Yes.
Take care.